Okay, we've got members who are up to speak. Councilmember Valenzuela.
Thank you. And I want to thank SHRA and all of the team who's been working on this. It's the first time we've tried to do a cross-jurisdictional affordable housing plan, and I know that's quite a feat in and of itself. So just want to thank you for the work you've done on all of this. And I do, though, want to say one note to the end of your talking points, Christine, because affordable housing is prevention. You know, affordable housing is encampment management. I mean, we have thousands of people in our shelters and on our streets who have income who are never going to compete for market rate apartments. Social Security, you just won't. You need permanent supportive housing if you're disabled. You need permanent supportive housing if you're, over a certain age and can't work. Like, it's just not possible we're never going to build our way out of getting to that level of rent, which is where permanent supportive housing really comes in. And I just also want to say that, and I know some of our colleagues say this a lot, when SAC Steps Forward said that for every one person we house, 3 more are losing their housing. This is the answer to the question of why our point-in-time counts have gone up so quickly and so drastically. It's pretty well documented in research across the country and around the world that when you see housing prices go up, particularly rental prices, homelessness increases. It's not a question in most academic circles that these two things are correlated. Maybe not one-to-one. Not everybody who becomes unhoused did it simply because they couldn't make the rent, but it is definitely a contributing underlying factor. And so I have to say all of that because I do think that I want to remind us, and I know SHRA, and thank you for the amendments in the report, because this is a funding constrained report, right? I mean, you are talking about, as was just mentioned in response to the mayor's question, achievable targets. These are the targets that we get if we don't do anything that different. If the funding isn't different, if we don't have any new emergency rent assistance funding, if we don't do any new policies for tenants to protect them from rents they can't afford, if we don't work on acquiring existing units so we can preserve affordability when units are on the market. And yes, no funding for gap financing for affordable housing, but I just have to say what I see is the elephant in the room when I look at this report, and this is no fault of SHRA, this is what you had to do. I mean, we can't manufacture $63 million to make the gap work, and so, but this is really what we would get if we didn't do anything new. And I just need to say that because 2,000 permanent supportive housing units is really nothing. And especially given that it includes projects that are already being built. So Capitol Park Hotel, Central City Studios, La Mancha in District 3, it includes those units in that number. So it's not even 2,000 new units, it's less than that. So we really have to ask ourselves if this is good enough. And again, this is not towards staff at all. And I just want to keep saying that. I don't think SHRA did anything wrong. They're presenting us with a real choice. And in my opinion, the choice in front of us isn't good enough. It's just not good enough. If we say 2,000 more units in the next few years, we will only see homelessness increase. We will only see more and more people flounder in our shelters and on our streets and in our safe camping areas, and that's simply not good enough. So I have to say that and look forward to the discussion on the dais today. And I do, though, want to flag what I think was some really thoughtful comments I got, especially from Sacramento area congregations together about really establishing clear expectations for monitoring and enforcement. How frequently do we report back? What does that look like? Where can the members of the public understand what's being built, what's being done, where we are on these metrics, and what happens if a jurisdiction actually makes a choice to go back on that? Because that is a real thing. We make choices all the time that actually hurt our housing goals, and we don't really hold ourselves accountable to that outcome, to the outcome that when we don't do certain things or when we choose to do other things, that if it's resulting in less affordable housing units or more people being displaced, that we're actually talking out of both sides of our mouths when we say we really care about this crisis, but we're going to keep making choices that make it worse or don't make it better. So I just want to start by framing that. And just again, thank you to the staff. I'm sure you're not surprised by this because we've talked about this before when you briefed me, and I appreciate that. But the status quo isn't good enough. This really is a status quo plan. And I appreciate the articulation of what we think we can do today already with our existing resources, with the existing opportunities to us, but I don't think that's the call that our constituents have given us. So I'll stop there and hear from members of the council. Thank you, Mayor.
Very good. Thank you, Councilmember.